Welcome back to my little English page. Today is day 6 of my little marathon. Today we're going to have a look at why you're not improving despite all of your efforts to study, to learn English, to practice English. You're not improving. So we're going to have a look at that. We're going to have a look at the reasons why you're not improving, what you can do, okay? To overcome those problems, and then we'll have a look at different things that you can do from home to improve on a daily basis. Little things that you can do from home that are very easy and that you can apply to your daily life without any problems. Things that are very easy to do. Hi Sergi, nice to see you. How are you? How are you doing? Are you having a good weekend? Here in Spain, it's really hot. It's over 32, 33 degrees. So it's the perfect opportunity to go out, which is what I'm going to do after today's live. But I'm super excited about today's live because I think it's really going to help you. A lot of you feel like they're just kind of staying at the same level, okay? And I know a lot of you dedicate many, many hours to studying every single day, but it's still not making any kind of big impact or any big difference to your actual learning. All right, so shall we get started or wait a little minute? I know a few people come a little bit later. Hello, Havaka. Nice to see you. It's the first time here. Well, that's wonderful. I think you came at the right time for the right lesson because it is definitely a very useful lesson today. Like I said, I'm super excited. I really think it's going to help. So yes, Sergi, you are experiencing that. You've been studying and learning English for many, many, many years, but you feel like, you're still at the same level and it's not improving. I understand you. Hi Kader, how are you? Nice to see you. All right, guys, so let's have a look. So yes, like I said, today the first thing we'll have a look at is why you're not improving in general, okay? Then we'll have a look at things that we can do to overcome all of those difficulties, all of those things that prevent us from improving despite all of our work and our studying. Hey Yashar, nice to see you. Did I say your name right? Yashar. And then the last thing we'll have a look at, like I said, is things that you can do every day. Very easy things that you can apply to your daily routine. That way you don't have to actually sit down and study, and you can include English in a very fun and natural way. So like I said, it won't feel like studying. So this is something that I think you guys are going to like. All right, so should we start with today's lesson? I think it's time. So we're going to have a look first at several reasons why you're not improving. Okay, so in Ukraine, most people work because that off work was... Oh, okay, so you're supposed to have a day off work, but it's been moved. So you're actually working today on a Saturday. Oh, that's never nice, is it? I'm actually going to open the window, guys, because it's really hot in here. Okay, so let's get started, guys. So for the first thing is, let's have a look. I didn't put it in order. So the first one was this one. Okay, so we're going to talk about, so this is more specific to lower levels because high levels don't necessarily need to translate. Now, when I say low levels, I'm not saying basic. I understand that when you have an extremely low level, it's difficult to not translate because you don't have any other words of reference. You don't know synonyms, you know nothing. So it's impossible for you to learn straight away like that. But if you're following my lesson right now, you might have a low level, but your level is high enough that you understand what I'm saying and you have a little bit of vocabulary. So you shouldn't need to translate. But we'll have a look at things after that you can do to not translate, okay? Hello Nina, nice to see you. How are you? So that's one of the first difficulties that you guys experience, okay? You might not know that, but it is actually something that will cause problems on the long run. If you get used to translating everything on paper or in your head, it will definitely slow down your learning, okay? So that's one of the reasons. Then for higher levels, the problem is actually that you're too advanced. And this is specifically for people that are studying on their own, okay? Not with a teacher. When you reach a very high level, it is difficult to know what else to improve because you're probably not making many mistakes. And then you might also not know what to learn next, okay? Because you're able to have conversations, to talk about everything. So what do you need to improve? You know, what's next? What grammar should I learn next? What kind of vocabulary should I learn next? So this is another big problem that you guys experience. It's what's next, okay? So this applies to higher levels, but it can also apply to lower levels that are studying on their own, okay? So if this is your situation, you don't have an actual teacher, but you're learning online on social media, then it might be a challenge of, you know, what's next? What do I need to learn, okay? Hello, Madi, nice to meet you. That's good, Sergi, exactly. So you might still make mistakes and things, but you can understand me. And you don't need to translate. There's other tools, other things that you can use when you don't understand something or when you want to memorize vocabulary, okay? So we'll have a look at that in just a minute. The next main problem is it this one? No, it's not this one. It's not this one either. Okay, that's it. So let me remove this one. Sorry guys. The next one is you're learning things not in context. So you're just learning vocabulary lists or you're just learning, you know, a bunch of grammar. But because it's not in context, it is a lot more difficult first to memorize, but also when you have a good example, when it's well situated in context, you see how to use it. So it is a lot easier to be able to apply it, okay? Again, guys, right now I'm just mentioning all of the main problems. We will have a look at what you can do to improve that, okay? So right now I'm just listing everything. The next one is you're too focused on your mistakes. This is the main thing that you're focusing on. You're not having a look, you're not focusing on the actual practice. You're just worried about not making mistakes. You're worried about making mistakes, sorry. So your full attention is not on the practice. And in this case, it's useless, okay? You can practice, but if you're not focusing on that, it's not useful. Okay, thank you, Rava. Yashar, not really right now. I'm just kind of introducing the reasons why you guys are struggling, okay? But don't worry, right now I'm just listing that, so you haven't missed much yet. Nina, I understand you very, very well, but my problem is when I speak, you begin to get nervous. Yes, I understand that. I think I have a tip for you after on how to kind of overcome that as well. And the last main thing why you're not improving is you're not reviewing. You're not doing revisions. You learn a lot of things, and once you think you've learned it, you just kind of leave it aside and you don't go back to it. That's not going to work. Think about it in your own language. When you learn a new word, if you don't use that word, you're not going to memorize it, okay? So it's the same in English, exactly the same problem. Okay, guys? So if you think, you know, one of those things is one of your problems, then definitely stay posted because we're going to have a look at what you can do to turn this into something good, okay? How to make this better. Okay, guys, so let's move on now to the first category. We're going to have a look at the levels. So the first 2 points, low levels and translating, and high levels and being too advanced. So this is our next category. So let's start with low level. So we mentioned that translating is a problem. Again, this does not necessarily apply to very, very, very basic students. But let's say an A2 is able to apply what I'm going to tell you now. So instead of translating, guys, and I'm saying when you're studying, okay, when you're writing on your notebook, when you're writing examples, when you're making vocabulary lists, a lot of you tend to just write the translation in your own language. This is bad, okay? Because if you get used to doing that, you're going to do that with sentences, with full grammar structures, and it doesn't work in English. English has very specific structures, and you can't just take your language's structures and apply them to English. It's not going to work, okay? So let's have a look at a few things that you can do sorry, just had a brain fart. What you can do to avoid translation. Okay, so I haven't put them in order again. So I think the first one is, it's not the first one, it's this one. Definitions. It's that simple. Instead of looking for a dictionary that has your language and English, look for an actual English dictionary. Now you might need to look for several dictionaries because some of the definitions are a little bit obscure, or they might use quite advanced vocabulary to explain a word. But if you're able to understand the definition in English, you don't need to know what the actual word is in your own language, okay? I'm going to use something very, very basic. Let's say you don't know what banana is in English. In the dictionary, you'll see long yellow fruit. There's not that many long yellow fruits, right? So it's probably referring to banana. So just by looking at that definition, you get a visual image of what it is, and you don't need to actually see what it is in your own language. Now, you don't need to actually buy a real dictionary. There's millions online. I think the one I like to use is called Merriam-Webster. I think that's the one I use. But, I mean, there's literally hundreds online, so there's no problem with that. Just type English dictionary online, and you will find one. The next thing, so you saw it because I revealed it, is antonyms and synonyms. Antonyms and synonyms. So we had a look at antonyms and synonyms, I think it was not yesterday, but the day before. So on Wednesday, I believe. And we had a look at how beneficial they can be. And like I just told you guys, instead of looking for the translation in English, you just write another word. For example, you know, you've just learned the word exhausted. You're not sure what it means. Look in that website that I gave you in the other live, which is called Thesaurus. If you need to know what it is, look on the antonym and synonym day of the marathon, and I've given that link there, Thesaurus. So on Thesaurus, you can look for synonyms. So you've just learned exhausted, but you don't know what it means. Write it down in that website, and it will give you a bunch of synonyms and antonyms. For exhausted, you will get tired. Tired is a basic vocabulary word that you know. So you don't need to know what it means in your own language. You know what tired means. It is very similar to exhausted. Okay, guys? Good. So, you can apply the structure of English to Ukrainian, but not the other way around. That's strange. Okay, all right. And guys, the next thing that you can do instead of translating is pictures. So that might be more complicated when you like to study on with a pen and paper, because, you know, hand drawing everything can be a little bit challenging. But let's say you're studying online, you like to make notes, you know, for example, on a Google document. Well, insert a picture in front of the words. That way, when you see it straight away, you know what it is, okay? So instead of just making vocabulary lists, make sure to put the images of what it represents at the same time, okay? So these are 3 things that you can do instead of translating. Now let's move on to higher levels, okay? And when you feel like you are too advanced. Okay, so the first problem that we say, okay, oh, it's not this one, it's this one, okay, is you're not making any mistakes, or you make very, very few mistakes. So how do you know what you're doing wrong, okay? It's difficult. If you're saying everything perfectly, then your English is perfect, right? Of course it's not. But when you're not making mistakes, it's very difficult to identify what you need to work on, okay? Sorry, I'm just seeing Okay, so thank you for sharing, Sergi. Thank you for sharing your dictionaries. Thank you. All right, so let me just move that. Okay. So yeah, that's one of the main problems here. And the next thing is you don't know what to do next. And this, again, doesn't necessarily only apply to high levels. It can also apply to lower levels that are self-studying, that are studying on their own. So let's have a look at what we can do in this case. That's on the next slide. What to do, okay? When, is it this one? Yes, it's this one. Okay, so what to do next when you feel like you've kind of reached your max, okay? When you don't know what else to do. So the first thing is you need to target specifically what you want to learn, okay? So that actually applies to me. I've reached a very high level of English, and to be honest, I do experience that sometimes. I feel like I'm not improving anymore. So I'm going to look for something very specific that I want to learn. For example, I would like to learn how to talk about more specific medical things. So this is very specific. I'm not just talking about health. Let's say I'm talking about tools, instruments that the doctors use. This is very specific. So it gives me an idea, okay, of what to look for. Because obviously you feel like you can speak about health, you can speak about sports, you can speak about your daily life, you can speak about everything. But everything is very general. So make sure you go down to something very, very specific, okay? Okay, so that was the first one. Choose very specific topics that you want to improve on. And when I say specific, again, guys, it's not just a big category. It's maybe a subcategory. Like I said, we have health, then we have medicine, and then we have tools used by doctors. That's the category I'm going to go for, because it is very specific. The next thing that you can do, guys, is to create mind maps. Mind maps. I'm going to show you a mind map. It's going to appear all over my face. I'm going to disappear, but I want you to focus on that. So this is a mind map, or an attempt mind map, okay, the beginning of a mind map on shopping. So as you can see in the middle, we have the big bubble that says shopping. And then from the big bubble, we have sub-bubbles. And those are subtopics. And each subtopic can be even more divided. It can be subdivided again. So for example, I started with shopping, and then I decided to move on to food vocabulary. And then I'm moving on to ordering food. Or I'm moving from food vocabulary to countable uncountables. This is a specific grammar point that is useful when you're learning about foods, okay? Or I want to focus a bit more on grammar, shopping, how to ask for something. Then when you look for that online, it's going to take you to modals little by little, okay? So make a mind map of what you'd like to learn. Earlier, I mentioned medicine or health. So in the middle, I could put health, and then I could have sub-bubbles with types of professions, types of illnesses, all of the different categories, and I can subdivide them even more. So let me just remove this big picture. Okay, so a mind map, guys, is very, very useful. You basically want to write everything related to that one topic, and that will help you figure out what to study next. Because each bubble needs to be something that you can do, that you know how to do, that you know how to say. Okay? I'm glad you like it, Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you. Then, the next thing, guys, is you need to make a detailed plan. And by that I don't mean a plan like the mind map. I mean a plan of what you're going to study and when you're going to study. To kind of be held accountable, okay? So you should connect that to your mind map, really. So once you've created your mind map and you have everything you want to study, of course you don't have to have, so depending on how deep you want to go into the topic, that's how much more detailed your mind map is going to be. If you are at a lower level, keep your mind map simple. If you're at a very advanced level, go to a much more difficult, much more detailed, much more explained mind map. And then from that, what's good, it's going to help you figure out how to look for info. So let me just bring back the mind map again. Remember how, so you have shopping, and then underneath you have how to ask for something. And then it takes you to modals. Of course, you know what modals are because it's one of the main grammar points. But imagine we don't know what modals are. Imagine we only know that we want to be able to ask questions. So in my bubble, I wrote how to ask question, how to ask for something. Type those exact words on your search bar on Google, for example. And this will take you to a lesson on how to ask questions. Within that lesson that you find online, you will see the words modals appear. It's impossible that modals are not connected to questions. It always goes together because on how to ask for something, sorry. So by having a specific detailed mind map, you might not know the grammar that you need, but you know what you want to be able to do. And if you know what you want to be able to do, it will take you to the grammar that you need. Does that make sense, guys? I know this is a little bit intense, but it's something very, very important, okay? So I'm just going to give you a second to process that information. I'm going to drink some water, and I want to see if you guys understand what I'm saying so far, okay? Okay, how that detailed plan, which should come from the mind map, will help you find the information that you need. And like I said, guys, excuse me, that detailed plan should also include when you're studying and what you're studying, just to hold you accountable. Otherwise, you'll just think, oh, I need to do it, I'll do it later, and you're not going to do it, okay? So that's going to help you figure out how to find the information that you need, okay? Yeah, Hassan, it's a type of brainstorm, absolutely. It's just a way to see it better instead of listing your brainstorming. You see how everything connects? But yeah, it's a type of brainstorm, absolutely. Good. So for Rebecca, it's clear. Awesome, good. What about everybody else? Do you follow me so far? Ooh, I'm starting to sweat, guys. It's really hot. Very hot. I have a Spanish accent. Okay, guys, so my last point here is, and this is actually more for very high levels, but you can also do it at a lower level. So I'm actually telling you to buy an exam prep book. So let's say you are already some kind of C1, so that's an advanced level, and you want to take it even further. Buy a C2 book, a C2 exam preparation book. I'm not saying you should start preparing an exam. Absolutely not, okay? I'm saying buy the exam book. Why? Because inside of it, it covers pretty much everything you need to know or you should be able to say at that level. But be careful, guys, big warning. You need to be able to see how whatever is in that book can be applied in context for you. Okay, how you're going to benefit from learning that specific thing. Okay, so for example, at advanced levels, we have noun clause or present participle clauses. Knowing what it is, knowing how to use it, okay, that's good. But if you don't know when you might use it, what's the point? If you know why you need to learn something, you want to learn it, okay? You feel like, good, it makes sense, I need to learn that. But if you don't know, you're just not going to want to do it, okay? So we're going to have a look at that now, though, how to use the exam prep book in context. So let's move on to the next slide, which is actually about that, the no context situation, okay? So learning vocabulary in context is fairly easy, okay? For example, you make sentences using the vocabulary, and usually, you're using that word in context. Another good thing that you can do, guys, for that is when you see those words, if you notice them in a book or in a movie, reference that word in your notebook to that movie or to that video. Okay? So Rebecca, where can you buy this exam prep book? I'm not going to recommend any exam prep book because every exam prep book is usually focused on the country the learner is from. So the prep books that I am familiar with are for Spanish learners, Spanish speakers learning English. But wherever you are, look for an exam preparation book. So it could be for IELTS, it could be for Cambridge, any exam really. But make sure it is an exam preparation book, not an exam book. You don't want a book with a bunch of exams. You want a book that helps you prepare for this exam, that is going to teach you vocabulary and grammar. Okay? So that's why I can't really give you a book, because it might not work for you. It's not going to apply to your language. Okay? Then, so for vocabulary up, so obviously examples, that's a good way to put things in context. And usually exam prep books show vocabulary in context. So in that aspect, you shouldn't struggle too much. I'm more interested in the... So for example, I wanted to show you an example. I have some examples. So here, so we go back to this mind map, okay? So it was on food, and I learned some vocabulary food, okay? Then my example could be, so I've learned the word haddock. It's a type of fish. I think I'll go for the haddock. And on top of that, so I am covering food vocabulary, but I'm also covering ordering food. I'll go for is a structure that you can use to order food. So in this case, I'm even putting two things in context together. And I can just memorize that sentence, I'll go for the haddock. And you have it memorized and you can reuse that sentence easily. I'll go for the peas, I'll go for the meat, I'll go for the... Okay? So that's a way of putting things in context for vocabulary. But again, vocabulary is easier in that aspect of putting things in context. It's for grammar that it's a lot more challenging. So how do you put grammar in context? So the first thing you need to think is, how does it fit my goal? Okay, so what's the point for me to learn what countable and uncountable nouns are? Okay, it's good to know what uncountable is or what countable is, but if I can't use it, if I don't know when to use it, how to use it, it's useless. Okay, so that was my example, countable and uncountables. It's going to help me because now it's going to help me figure out how to use articles. And when you talk in English, when you talk about food specifically here, you need to use articles. So I could create an example here where I'm also reusing some of the vocabulary. Okay, so I'm really putting context in there. So here I could say, I'll have, that's another way of ordering food. I'll have a hot chocolate. Is it made with real nothing cocoa though? Okay, so here I've shown two words that are usually associated. Okay, so hot chocolate and cocoa. Cocoa is the powder. Cocoa. We don't say cocoa. Cocoa. Cocoa is the powder. Hot chocolate is the drink. Because I am aware that powder is uncountable, I'm not going to put an article. But I'm aware that a hot chocolate, you can count it. We're referring to the cup. I can put an article. Okay, so here, guys, obviously I'm showing you using examples, using the mind map from earlier, okay, using this information. I'm showing you examples, but this is something that you should apply to your learning. Now, this is an easy grammar point, but earlier I've mentioned, for example, well, let's say another grammar point, passive voice. Let's say the passive voice, okay? I want to know how that's going to fit my learning, the passive voice. Well, I'm basically, so let's say I'm trying to improve my business English. I want to be better at work in English. So how can the passive voice help me at work? Well, one of the uses of the passive voice is to avoid responsibility. So for example, you've made a mistake and you want to kind of protect yourself. You have a client that is complaining, and you're telling them that, yeah, okay, we'll solve the problem, but you don't want to say I will solve the problem. So that's where you can use the passive voice. The problem will be solved. You are avoiding responsibility, but you're still replying to the client and telling them what they want to hear. Okay? So does that make sense? To apply, to show specifically how you can use the grammar that you're learning and how you can apply to things that you need. Okay? Yeah, I love the passive voice as well. I absolutely love the passive voice. So, do you follow me, guys? Are we good? Okay? So, how to show vocabulary, how to show grammar in context, and if you can connect the two, that's even better. In my last example, that's what I did. I'll go or I'll have. That's another expression I can use. I'm using vocabulary, hot chocolate, cocoa, and I'm using the grammar as well. So I'm combining everything together, okay? So that way I memorize this sentence, and all of those words are memorized. I can use that as a reference for the grammar. So it's really, really, really useful to do that, guys, okay? So let me know, what do you think? Do you agree, disagree so far? Is this something new, or are you just thinking, whatever, Marine, it's the same as always? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section, guys. Okay. Those delayed comments is stressing me out, because you might be typing and telling me things, but I can't see it yet. Alright, so let's see. Come on, guys, let me know. Do you follow me? Am I going too fast? Am I speaking too fast? Am I not giving you enough details, or are we good? What is it like? The passive voice is liked by you. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. So guys, I hate those delayed comments. Makes me feel so uncomfortable. I'm just waiting to see. Oh. Okay, so you agree with me that way. Awesome, fantastic, Sergi. It's good to know. I love it. What about you guys? Ravaka, Camilo. Okay, so Nina, you agree as well. Beham. Good. Wonderful. You're with me. Yeah, I'm so happy you guys are with me. Okay, so should we move on to the next category? Let's do it. You can't follow me, but you have a bad connection. Okay. Well, that's okay. You can just watch the video again after once we're done, and that will help you, okay? I can go faster. Ooh, okay. Camilo ole is English word or expression? What do you mean by that, Camilo? I don't get it. Okay, guys, so we're moving on to the next category, which is you are too focused on your mistakes. So the first problem is going to be that you're always worried. And I think that is what, was it Ravaka who said that was your problem, or Rosa maybe? Or Nina, I can't remember. One of you guys said you get really nervous when you start speaking, and that is because you're too focused on your mistakes usually. You're worried about making mistakes. And this, guys, is going to stop you. It's going to prevent you from learning. And that's probably what you're experiencing right now. There's no secret, there's no mystery when it comes to that, guys. You just have to go out there and do it. Now, you can practice on your own. That's something I've recommended several times, of course. But there's going to be a moment, guys, where you are going to have to talk to people. There's no avoiding that. So if you really are extremely shy, I do recommend that you take some theater classes, acting classes. It usually helps you be more comfortable with yourself, be more comfortable in public, more comfortable speaking in front of other people. So that is something I really recommend, acting classes, okay? Now, another problem, guys, with when you're too focused on your mistake is you become annoying. It is annoying when somebody's constantly saying, oh, I'm sorry, forgive my English, I'm sorry my English is bad. Whatever, okay? Maybe you can say it once at the beginning of the conversation, but you've said it once, you don't need to say it 10 times. You don't need to constantly apologize for your English. No, you don't need to apologize for that. If anything, if you're talking to a native speaker, they should be thanking you for making the effort of speaking in their language. So stop apologizing for your mistake and stop worrying about it, because you're making it worse. And on top of that, it makes it look like you're not 100% focused, because you're just thinking about your mistake. So on top of that, it looks like you're not interested in the conversation. So the other person is not going to want to interact with you as much. You know, it just makes sense. If somebody's not focused on what they're talking about, I mean, why should I focus then? Okay? So I know this is not a solution, guys, but this is kind of trying to wake you up and like, it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. Don't worry about it. Because you're sounding like an annoying person if you're too worried about it. So stop worrying. Just do it. Do it and do it. Okay? And the last thing is, if you're practicing speaking, for example, and you're constantly stopping because you're making mistakes or you're worried about making mistakes, this is not going to be natural. It's not going to sound natural, and then you're not fully practicing. Okay? Your body, your mouth, your muscles, they remember. You know, muscle memory. Sometimes you say something, you don't know why you're saying it right, but you are. But if you stop before because you want to make sure that it is correct, but you don't know why, so you have to think about why it's correct, that's it. You're not going to say it right anymore. Or you're just not going to say it, or you're going to say it 10 minutes later, and then that whole exercise is completely useless. Okay? Good. Alright, I'm speaking a lot. Just give me a second, guys. Okay? So this is about everything I have to say about that being too focused on your mistakes. It really is negative for you guys. And again, if you're shy, if you're worried about those mistakes, all you can do is just go for it. Go for it. Do it. Do it and do it. Think about, I don't know, when you learned how to, when you're a kid and you're learning how to do household chores. Do you wait? Okay, so for example, your mom is teaching you how to iron. Are you going to observe her for years and years and years, learning how to do it? No, that's not how it happens. Your mom puts you in front of the iron and says, do it now. You've seen me do it once or twice, now do it. And the more you do it, the better you become at it. It's the same with speaking. And it's the same with your confidence. The more you do it, the more confident you will get. Okay? Good so far, guys? Oh, wow, the comments. I haven't seen those. Sorry, guys. Lack of self-confidence, absolutely. But like I said, guys, confidence will come with practice. You know, I am a language learner. I learned English, I learned Spanish, I learned Italian. And, you know, at the beginning, I wasn't necessarily the most confident person when it came to that. But I just did it. And I did it another time. And another time. And then it became easier. And then because it was easier, I was making less mistakes. And because I wasn't making as many mistakes, I was becoming really confident. And that's how you gain confidence, guys. By doing it. Okay? Okay, so Hassan, you say, you know, sometimes I make mistakes and I just keep talking. Good. And if I make a mistake, I say, that's not how natives talk. I pretend that's my mistake. Okay, yes, well, you know, that's a good thing to do. And I do that with my partner as well. I speak sometimes, I realize, oh, I've made a mistake. But I'm so in the conversation that I don't want to interrupt the conversation because we're having a great debate, for example, and that would just interrupt the whole situation. You don't want to do that. I mean, sometimes I do point out, oh, that sounded bad, but that's okay. Just do it, okay? Okay, so Sergi, here, you know what? We're going back to the no translation. To not be ashamed, learners need to train to describe words in some ways without saying that word if they forget them. Exactly, and that's again related to not translating. If you have different ways to say one word in your notebook, if you can't find that one word anymore, you have all the other synonyms that you wrote. okay? Or the definitions or the alternatives. So that is very good, Sergio. That's exactly right. Perfect. Good. Okay. So now let's move on to the last category, which is the no revision. You are not reviewing what you've learned. Why? Why are you not reviewing? That's bad. Okay? If you don't apply what you've learned, it's going to go and leave straight away. It's not going to stick in your head. So here are a few ways that you can do to review. The first thing is watch videos. Let's say you've just learned some medical, let's go back to the topic we had earlier, which was food. You've just learned something about food, vocabulary related to food. Watch a cooking show. Watch a video that goes over cooking vocabulary. Okay? So that's one way of doing it, by watching videos on things that you've already learned. You've learned a grammar point. You want to review it, watch a video about it. So you don't have to be 100% focused on it because you know the grammar. But it's a little revision, and it might be useful to see how somebody else explains a specific grammar point. Okay? Hassan, people will understand you if I had mistakes in my speech, but it just doesn't sound quite right. You make mistakes usually, okay? Alright. Have I had any Spanish mistakes? Do I make Spanish mistakes? Yes. From hearing my students make mistakes, I start copying mistakes. For example, with some prepositions, there's one which is... I can't remember, but there's a verb that's followed by a specific preposition in English and a different one in Spanish. And that is a mistake that I've started making. Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Mohammed. Exactly. We learn from our mistakes, but we shouldn't focus too much on them. Okay? It shouldn't be something that prevents us from learning. Hello, Davud. Nice to meet you. Okay, so that's the first thing you can do. Watch videos. Then you can make revision flashcards. Flashcards, so it's usually little pieces of paper where you write vocabulary on. You don't have to do it like that. I've done my version of flashcards in the past. You know, I used to have a little vocabulary notebook that I would carry around with me. So that's another way to review vocabulary. Always have words that you want to review handy to review them. Another way of doing flashcards, if it's something related to around the house, instead of having flashcards with the word and what it means at the back, you could have post-its with the word and stick them all around your house. That way when you walk past, oh, this is the toilet, this is a shelf, this is a cupboard, okay? So that's another easy way to include revisions in your daily life. Exactly, Maddie. Sometimes it's harder to review than to learn new things. Good. Okay, yeah. Alright, so the next thing, guys, is again, vocabulary mind maps. So I've created one to show you an example. So here we change the topic, okay? So I chose the topic supermarket. And from that, I've come up with two categories. The first one is aisles. Okay, so aisles are the sections. This is some vocabulary that we had a look at when I did a live from Say Oh Yes last week, okay? So in the aisles, there's different aisles, okay? So we have, for example, the frozen foods and the pharmacy. So these are all the words that I've learned, but I am reorganizing them. So let me remove that. Okay, so those are all the words I've learned. To review, I'm going to recreate a mind map. Okay, so last week I learned about the supermarket. So the supermarket is divided in aisles. So, okay, so then there's going to be the frozen aisle, there's the pharmacy aisle, there's the vegetable aisles. So now let's have a look at the vegetable aisles. Within the vegetable aisle, we can have a look at fruits, vegetables. Okay, so vegetables, we're going to have carrots, we're going to have onions, we're going to have this and this and that, okay? So you create this mind map, okay? It's not something that you take from online. You recreate it. And that will show you how much of the vocabulary you have memorized and remembered. And if you see that your mind map is very, very small, you need to review even more. Now, I'm the kind of person who's very visual. I memorize a lot by seeing and listening. So for me, creating mind maps is great because I can see all the words and everything, okay? So this, guys, is 100% something extremely useful, creating mind maps, okay? So creating mind maps, like we said earlier, to see what you want to learn, but creating vocabulary mind maps to review vocabulary, okay? Hi, English Vibes. Okay, so yeah, you don't bother using paper, you do it all online, okay? Hi, Khalid, nice to see you. Yeah, it's okay, I know you had your course, don't worry. That's okay. Okay, guys, so next one is our last. So we've had a look at each of those points, which are the reasons why you're not improving, okay? And now we're going to have a look at things that you can do. Oh, where is that? Hide! Things that you can do in your daily life. Very easy things that you can apply every day. Okay, so remember, this comes from the fact that very often students ask me, what's the best way to learn a language? Of course, guys, the best way to do it is to go to that country and be in total immersion in the culture and in the language. But everybody can do that. Sometimes it's too expensive, or you have a family life and you can't just leave for months, or you have a job and you can't leave. So of course, what can you do? There's many different things that you can do. So let's have a look at the first one. Is that the first one? I haven't organized them. Bad me. It's not this one. It's this one. That's the first one. So the first thing is, it is something I've told you before, guys, but you should switch everything to English, including your phone, your laptop, your TV, your alarm clock, everything you have, you have everything technological, switch it to English. Because this, usually, for example, your phone, you know where everything is. So you don't actually need to fully read in detail and understand, because you know where it is. But you're going to see those words every single day and you're going to memorize them. Okay? That's the first thing. The next thing, which is, similar to it, is technology you can talk to. So I've told you before, guys, about how to use your phone. So I have Samsung, is different, but for example, if you have an iPhone, you can use Siri. On smartphones, you have something similar. I just can't remember what it's called. But let's say you have an iPhone, you can use Siri. If your phone is set in English, you can communicate with Siri in English. But there are other technologies you can use. For example, Alexa or Google Home. If you set those in English, you can talk to them in English. If they don't understand what you're saying, it's probably because your pronunciation is not quite right. And Alexa or Google Home, they speak fairly slowly. So it's not too hard to understand them. So I don't have a Google Home or an Alexa, but if I did, it would be in English. And if you have one, guys, do it in English as well. Set it in English. It is a small change, it's a small thing, but it is a great tool that you can use in that particular aspect, okay? Well, sorry about that, Sergi. Okay, the next thing is, you're going to sound a little bit crazy, so only do that when you're alone. Say what you're doing in English. So let's say you are going to make food. Okay, so now I'm going to take the vegetables out of the fridge. I'm going to put them on the chop board and I'm going to peel them first. Once they're peeled, I think I'm going to chop them and maybe I'm going to fry them in the pan. So everything you do, say it. Of course, at work is going to look a bit weird, or outside, people might think you're a little bit of a Looney Tune, okay? So do that alone, or you can think it in your head as well. But don't say it out loud in public, okay? It is possible to get a British or an American accent without going abroad. Many people have done it. It just means that the resources that you want to use, that you should be focused on that type of English, okay? So yeah, but it's absolutely doable, absolutely. Okay, so that was the next one. Ah, what is the next one? Is it this one? Yes! The next one is instructions. So, of course, for example, instructions, I mean IKEA, okay, instructions on how to build furniture. Instructions always come in many different languages. And, of course, it always, no matter what, comes in English. So, first, have a look at the English version. And then, if you need, check the one in your native language. And that's a great way for you guys to compare the different structure, the vocabulary, how similar or how different things might be between your own language and another language. So that's a type of instruction, but there's many more. Let's say on your orange juice bottle, at the back, it has instructions or the ingredients inside, and it usually comes in more than one language as well. So those tiny little details are small things that you can do every single day. We always read labels or instructions every day. Do it in English, okay? It's something so simple and so easy. We don't think about it. But now that you know, make sure you do it, okay? Oh, I'm thirsty, guys. I've been talking so much. Whew. Okay, are we good so far, everyone? Oh, wow, look at that. It's very sweaty now. Ooh, ooh. We didn't see that. I have not been to any language meetings in Spain, Camilo. I've done some before, but I've not been to any in Spain. Just because most people are looking for English in exchange for Spanish, and I don't feel I need Spanish that much, so I haven't really found the right type of language exchange for me. That's why. But language exchanges are really good. They're definitely very interesting, something you should consider, guys. Okay, so the next point is actually related to what you're saying, Camilo, which is to join a foreign community. By that, I want to be more specific than just language exchanges. This particular tip might be a little bit more useful to people that live in big cities. So I'm going to use the example of where I live, which is Seville. It's not a huge city, but it is a big city. It's the capital of Andalusia, so the south of Spain. So there are many foreigners here in Spain, in Seville specifically. But what happens, so I'm not talking about language exchanges, guys, okay? I'm talking about actual communities. For example, in Seville, there is that lady who does yoga in English. But that's the perfect way to practice a little bit of English every day. First, because the instructor is going to speak in English, but also because all of the students in that class are probably going to be from some kind of English-speaking country. And if not, they are here, if they're not native speakers or English speakers, they're probably there to practice English as well. So it's kind of like a language exchange, but with a bit of a fun activity with it. So I've mentioned yoga, but there's many different things. There's many groups here of foreigners that like to talk about books, like to talk about movies. There's many types of things. Look for something that you're interested in and find out if there's a community in your city or close to where you live that applies that, okay? Thank you, Hassan. So switch everything to English, technology, you can talk to Google Home. Good. I'm sorry, Maddie, I know you can't drink water. I'm so sorry. But you can do it. You're strong. You're strong. Okay. You're starving, Mohammed. Yeah, me too. To be honest, I haven't had food today, so I'm almost the same as you guys. Almost. Oh, that's really cool, Sardinia Queen. You have the American House that provides free lessons and other events. Wonderful. Wonderful. Good. Okay, guys, so my next thing is it this one? Yes. Using dead time. What do I mean by that? I mean time where, for example, you're just waiting. You're not doing anything specific. Okay, so when you don't know what to do, what do? You go on that little thing, right? You go like, oh, Instagram, Facebook, I don't know what to do. Use that time. Make it worth it. You're waiting in line at the supermarket. Use your flashcards, review, watch a video, listen to an audiobook, okay? So this is basically multitasking. When you're doing something that don't require your full attention, when it's maybe something mechanical, do something with this at the same time. Apply English. So not study English, but you could listen to a radio show, you could watch a video, you could review flashcards, okay? Use that dead time to make it useful, okay? And then guys, we have 2 more. Is it this one? Yeah. Daily to-do list. I love this one. It's such an easy thing. So let's say you start your day, you arrive at work. I know many people like to make lists, a to-do list of everything they have to do that day. Do it in English. So first, because it's the beginning of the day, your brain is fairly active. Okay, you might still be awake because you haven't had enough coffee, but your brain is not tired from the whole day. And that's something that usually happens is you guys study at the end of the day when you're tired. So try to incorporate English earlier on in your day when you're not tired. Now that to-do list is something that you probably do every day anyways. So do it in English. First, you're going to probably need to learn a little bit more vocabulary. Look for vocabulary. So you're going to look it up and add it to your list. Then, because you're going to be looking at that list all day long, you're going to be seeing that word, that new word that you had to look for. You're going to see it all day long. By the end of the day, you will have memorized that new word. And the last thing is, it will feel like once you've finished writing your list, that you have accomplished something. You will be proud of yourself. Like, okay, I've done my first task of the day and I've done something in English. So this is something that should really kind of encourage you, motivate you. And it's something that, can be done in 10, 15 minutes max. It doesn't take much of your time and it's very easy and it's very useful. Okay, guys? And so my very last point for today is you need to do things for fun. So in this case, I'm using the example of YouTube videos. Of course, I absolutely love that you guys are watching all of my videos, and you should do it and keep doing it, of course. But you should also look for videos about things that you like and not related to learning English at all. So one YouTube channel that I quite like is the Try Guys. The Try Guys. And, I find myself, just switching on the TV, putting on YouTube and looking for their videos. And the good thing is they're in English, but they're super entertaining. So I'm actually just wanting to watch what's going on in that, in that video and not, thinking, oh, I'm going to look at that and that should help me learn English. No, I'm just having fun while at the same time, using English without really realizing it. You're doing it for a different reason. You're doing it for fun. And that, guys, is the whole difference. You need to do things for fun. So I recommend finding 3, 4, or 5 YouTube channels that you really like that are in English. And I also recommend that you choose channels that cover very different things. So there could be one about makeup, one about cooking, one about entertainment. Okay, so choose several channels that you like and watch one video every day. Just one. YouTube videos are between 5 and 15 minutes. That doesn't take much of your time. Or let's say you're in the bus or you're on the toilet. You can watch a YouTube video there. So just make sure you incorporate a video a day. Now, a lot of bigger YouTubers also have subtitles included, so that can be a really helpful tool as well. Okay? Alright, guys. We've gone over everything for today. That was intense. We've done a full hour. Wow. Full hour. That's crazy. Huh. So let me just remove some of those. So guys, what did you think? Did you find those tips useful? I am sure, guys, that if you apply those, and specifically, the mind maps, that's a real game changer. If you apply all those tips, you will improve. Now, another thing that I didn't write in here, because I've mentioned it so many times, but a great way for you to actually see that you're improving because most of the time the problem is you're improving, but you don't feel like you are. You're not seeing it. Record yourself. I've told you a million times, guys, record yourself. If you do that for a whole week, day 1 and day 7, I can promise you that you are going to hear a big difference. Okay? Good. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Tomorrow is going to be the last day of the marathon. I'm not going to go live at 4. I've decided to go live earlier during the day because I might be going to the beach tomorrow. It's very hot in Seville, so... So tomorrow, and it is a fun day. It's mostly going to be games of some things that we've seen during the week, others that are not related, they are just, fun. So we'll do that tomorrow at 10 a.m. Spanish time. So that is 10 a.m. GMT +2. But don't worry, later today I will set up the thumbnail and the whole video so that you can click and set the reminder. Okay, guys? Yes, exactly, Rebecca. It should be really fun tomorrow. We're just going to play games. So make sure that you bring your coffee tomorrow, guys. And we're going to play a bunch of fun games. So thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please make sure you like the video and make sure that you share it, because I am sure many people would benefit from it. And the more people I can help, the better. I would like to thank you all for joining the live. As you know, the more you guys are on the comment section, the more you comment, the more energy I'm receiving and the more energy I can send back. So again, thank you so very much for joining me, for taking a little bit of time off your weekend to practice English. So that's it for today, guys. See you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Spanish time. And of course, keep on learning. Mwah. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And see you tomorrow. How do I end that? How do I end the live stream? Where is the end button? It's here. Bye-bye, guys. Keep on learning. See you tomorrow.